All right, welcome on in, everybody, to the Mo Vaughn podcast, powered by Perfect Game and the Vaughn Sports Academy. And very excited, Mo. We got a great guest coming by here, a baseball dad, very into the game, and Mark Paul Gosselaar joining us here on the show. Mark, thanks for the time. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Mark, thanks for coming on, bro. I know you're busy. You got a lot of things going, so I really appreciate you taking the time, bro.
Yeah, of course. I'll take time to talk about baseball.
We like it.
What is your team, Mark? What was the team you rooted for growing up, and what made you fall in love with the game?
I grew up in LA, so I'm a Dodger fan.
Okay.
And I know there's a couple teams in LA. Mo, you played for one, but it was for us. It was for me. It was the Dodgers. So I just got I was around for the heyday of Fernando and all those guys, and it just shaped my youth, shaped my love for the game.
I tell people all the time, I go, all of us guys, that's the era that we always compare ourselves to, is that whole, was it Steve Yeager, all those guys, Dusty Baker, that's the greatest era in time. That 70s, late 70s, early 80s. It was a great time to be a fan. And look at them now. Now they're just like a juggernaut, man. They're virtually unstoppable. They're up 2-0 now. Are they on the road or coming back home?
They're coming back home.
They're coming back home. 2-0, taking out Milwaukee. They got one of my favorite guys in Freddie Freeman. I just love his way.
Freddie's amazing.
So it's great. You picked a great team to be following.
Yeah, I mean, I don't live in LA anymore, and there's a strong rivalry between where I live and the Dodgers. It seems that everybody wants to hate the Dodgers, but you can't. I mean, honestly, like, I look at that lineup, I look at the team that they've created. I look at, from the top down. You look at Dave Roberts. He's a friend of mine. I'm proud to say that he's a friend. He's a great guy, and you just see, like, from the top down, these guys just seem like guys you just want to go out and grab a beer with afterwards. I don't look at the team and say there's anyone bigger than the other guy on it. I mean, obviously we have superstars on the team. I mean, Shohei, come on. But you look at it and, there was that one thing where Shohei was getting the other guys some waters at the cooler. And I'm like, come on, man. How can you not like a team where the superstar is doing that? I don't know. They're a good example for my kid to watch. Yeah, we're proud to be Dodger fans.
They people get in the playoffs and they're like, man, we got to play well. They walk in the stadium like, we're going to win the game. And you can see it as a player and how they approach it. Very, very confident, very, very professional, and great guys to be around. So that's good. That's some good stuff. Mark, talk to me, man. Like, you've been in this game.
Sorry, real quick, Mo. I said they were coming back home. I had to check real quick. They have one more game in Milwaukee on Thursday, tomorrow. I had to check that. Actually, I think, yeah, no, they're coming back home.
No, they're going back home. They're going back. You're comfortable. You're sitting pretty.
Yeah. I was like looking
pretty.
I don't have my glasses on. I pulled up my app real quick and I'm looking. I'm like, yeah, they're coming back home, so we're good.
Is the Suns' favorite player? Is it Shohei or is it Freddie? Like, who's the guy that's got the poster on the wall right now?
He loves the whole team. He has a Shohei jersey, but you know who he really loves? I mean, we love Freddie. We every time that song comes on, and just knowing Freddie from when he was a Brave, and I just think he's a great guy. We love Mookie. Everybody on the team we root for. But his guy is Will Smith. Will Smith is his guy. My son loves to be a catcher. I kind of keep him away from catching too much because I don't want him getting beat up too much. He's young. He's 12. It's like, I want him to know the position because I think it's a really important position. I fell in love with the position when I played a catcher on a TV show a few years back. But his guy that he really loves to watch, and we just think he's an awesome player, is Will Smith.
So Decker, your son, so he's 12.
He's
So
12.
like my son Lee is 13. So we're navigating in the same space.
Yeah.
Uh, it's and you and I know
Team Space, Mo. It's crazy.
and you're gonna you're at that 12. So what are you playing? 50-70 right now?
What do you mean
Fuck,
by 50-70?
meaning 50-foot pitching mound, 70-foot bases,
Yes,
something
yes.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
you're gonna make that jump next year to that 60-90.
Yeah.
So my thinking, my advice to you would be just speed and agility, speed and agility, speed and agility,
That's what he
because
has. That's all
yeah,
he has.
that's what it is, because that's gonna separate now the athletes. You're playing that game almost like where it's super areas. Anybody can hit the home run, the ball flies off the bat, we're all jogging. When you get to that 60-90, it's the athleticism. And you got a great guy, because I know that guy, Mike Sweeney, as his coach. I know that guy. I played against him, when he was with the Royals my entire career. I was just down in San Diego with him at the All American game.
I was
What a
supposed to be there.
yeah, I would have seen you. I would have seen you.
Yeah.
What a tremendous person. Just a good guy that knew the game. Um, very very consistent. I always, I tell Brendan all the time. First bases in the '90s were very very good, and we were always battling. He's got 5 All-Star appearances, so you got a great guy to teach your son. That's what you need.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Mike is his attitude, his work ethic. Obviously, he has talent, but I think those two things before set him apart. He worked hard at the game,
Yeah,
and he talks about stories, that even if it was just all his perception, which I think is the most important thing, that he was aware of how he felt and what he needed to do to improve his game. And he says that he would just, after a game, he just felt he didn't have it, even when he was, maybe went 1 for 2 or something like that, but it wasn't enough for him. And he said, I worked all night just working on my swing and wanting to get better. And I think that that's an important lesson for my son to hear, is that, you have to be accountable for yourself, and only you can change yourself. And I tell him that all the time, like, listen, we shouldn't have to tell you that you're not doing something well. Just figure it out. Like, that's the game for us right now, is like, if you're consistently pulling the ball, figure out how to not pull the ball. I can't, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your hands or your feet or whatever. Just figure it out. Like, just
right.
what is your instinct telling you? Go do that.
How is it? I know you and Decker and your family on the whole PG circuit. Are you playing a lot? Because how does Mike run his ship? I specifically mine. I play like twice a month. I feel that practice is very much necessary. You need practice reps to play good game reps. You can't just play game. You need to practice. And I try to keep him on that. And right now, I played 3 sports in through high school. My son's not able to do that. We play too much high end baseball. But I think giving the boys time off, especially in the summertime, to grow as individuals is just as much as understanding when to play, when to practice, when to rest. What's your thoughts?
Well, my son is 12, my daughter is 10. They are both multi-sport athletes. My daughter has been an all-star in softball since she first started at 7 years old.
Oh,
She's
nice.
a badass.
Wow.
He's a badass. She's an amazing athlete. She's also a volleyball player. My son plays high end baseball. We I want him to be a multi sport athlete, because I see it in him. Like, he has speed, agility, mobility. Like, he just has. He's a good athlete. Same with my daughter. So we play baseball. We took about 2 months off during the summer. We're ramping things back up. We're going to be at Cooperstown next year, and so we're ramping back up for that. We've had, since the end of August, September, we've had 3 tournaments now.
Right.
It's roughly about 2 tournaments a month, practices twice a week. We have some really good long practices with some really good coaches. But we're not playing every weekend. Every weekends he's playing flag football. He plays he plays baseball, flag football, and then we start in the winter start playing rugby. And he's a really good rugby player. And we do tournaments. We went to an international tournament last year in Tampa. So he's he enjoys it. So it's like I don't want to I don't want to limit him to just playing baseball.
Mark, what was the process like? So you mentioned the show Pitch, where you had to learn to be a catcher.
Yeah.
As an actor, like, what is the process like to look good at doing it? Like, do you go and do you find a coach? Like, how does that all go for you? And then, like, what's that process like?
Yeah, so I went in to read for the role. I knew some of the people involved with it, and they said, "Look, you got to come in and read for the role. There's certain things you get offered. They're like, they're not going to offer this to you. You got to come in and you got to show what you can do." And I read the character, and it seemed very Mike Piazza-ish. Like they wanted this like long, flowy hair, and he was a player both on the field and off the field. It was like this kind of character. And I don't know. They had somebody else in mind, another actor, and I knew the guy, and I was like, I'm not that guy. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna do what I do. But I went in and I fought for it, and the creator of the show, Dan Fogelman, who did This Is Us. At the same time, Pitch was being developed. This Is Us was being developed, and those were his two big projects that particular year. But I read for him, and I remember him saying, "Man, really like what you did." He's like, "I got two things for you. Can you grow a beard?" I was like, I don't know. I've never really grown a beard." And he goes, "All right, well, we'll see what happens." He goes, "Can you gain weight?" And I said, "Well, that I can do. I could definitely gain weight." And then long story short, I got the role, and then they hired coaches. We had Chad Kruger as my coach. Royce Clayton was a batting coach. Greg Olson was a pitching coach. And then we just had a bunch of people from the Moneyball production, and they were just we just trained every single day for about 2 months before we filmed the pilot. And then once the pilot got picked up and we were off and running as a show, we had those people, like Greg Olson was there pretty much every day working with the star of the show, Kylie Bunbury, the female. And so he was on set every day, and we would just we were just trained. I mean, we were working out on the field, doing stuff, in the studio. It was nonstop. It was the if I could retire on one show, that would have been it. Because that was like a dream to me. Because I never thought I'd be an actor. I thought I was going to be an athlete growing up. So to be able to do both and do two things that I loved, I was in heaven.
Well, how do you? Like, how do you, when you're acting, but also you got to look athletic doing it? Like, how challenging is that? Like, where was that up as far as like all the roles that you've had? Because you want it to look good. This is something like you want to feel like you're nailing the part. Like, is that a lot of takes? Is it do you want to run it back? Like, how does it go making a sports show?
Well, specifically with that show, one of the reasons it only went one season was because it was extremely expensive to make. So when we filmed inside of Petco, and we used all of their cameras plus our cameras, it looked like the real deal. I've never like really I don't know. I don't know really know what the word is, but like for layman's term, like geeked out about seeing myself on the big screen at Petco and going, "Oh my gosh, I've just become a major league player." Like because of all the camera angles, I'm like, that's what you're used to seeing when you watch a game. And now I inserted myself into a game, and it looks real because we had, hundreds of cast, background artists behind us, and we had real umpires, and we had players from Moneyball that were real major league players or minor league players that helped us make everything look real. Yeah, you want it to look as real as possible. I still can't watch that show because I can't watch it back because I will pick myself apart and go, God, I looked bad with my stance, my catching stance, or this or that, because I like I've evolved since then, and I feel like if I were to do it now, I'd do it differently. And it's one of the reasons I can't watch any of my work, but really I can't go back and watch pitch because I would not be happy with my batting and my throwing. I just none of it I would be happy with because I feel like I could do it better now.
Mark, you started acting at a young age,
Yeah.
right? How old was that?
When I started in front of a camera where you have dialogue and things like that, probably 10, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And you were doing it, and you came out on the comedian side, correct?
Yeah, it was mostly comedic stuff. I mean, I had done print work, like where for companies like Sears and J.C. Penney and things like that. Like I think every actor in my generation kind of did that because they were cute kids growing up, and you would do print work, and then you do commercials, and then I did. A handful of commercials, and then you start doing theatrical work where you go in and read for shows like Punky Brewster or Highway to Heaven or things like that. And that started my journey.
And then you went into some more of the drama. You went into the drama. How did first being starting at 8, 10 years old? How did that prepare you? On the comedian side when you went to the drama side.
Uh, I don't really see myself as a comedic actor or
Okay.
dramatic actor. I just see myself as an actor. And I think one of the things when you can go back and forth like that is just understanding the role and understanding the dialogue and what you're saying. And um, I prefer doing drama. I think it's a lot easier than doing comedy. Comedy has a timing element
Well,
to it, and if you don't do it for a while, I feel like I lose that timing.
so you saying that the drama is easier, but the comedy is harder because of the timing. Explain the timing.
Uh, comedy has this rhythm to it where
Right.
you can say a line, but if it's not done in a proper cadence, or if you don't hit certain words, if you don't have the timing down, it's like a dance, right? If you don't, like, I can give you the steps, but if you don't execute them properly and in the fashion they should be, like from 1, 2, 3, then it isn't as funny. There's people that have this comedic timing that just, man, it just hits better.
Right.
I could give a comedian and a non-comedian the same joke, but a comedian's going to know how to hit it, and they hit it in a way that, man, that is some good stuff right there. It's because they understand the timing, they understand the rhythm of the joke, and it kind of, if you don't do it, it's a muscle. And it's just like acting. Like people say, how do you learn lines? Well, it's just a muscle. It's just repetitive muscle. It's like, we can bring it back to baseball. It's the same with your swing. If you don't take cuts every day, you're not as good as somebody who does.
Well, how much do you like the challenge of like playing a real bad guy? Because my wife is a huge fan of Found, and I'd always be sitting there and I'd be watching. Like I always have like the Heat or the Panthers on my laptop because I got to watch sports every night for the radio show. But then like I got this, I kept finding myself like, man, he's nasty on this show.
Yeah, yeah.
This is crazy. So to tap into something like that, does that do you try a lot of different versions? When do you feel like you nail a character like that?
Uh, it's a constant evolution. One of the hard things about television is, unlike a film, right? When you get a film, you get the script and you have it all in front of you. You have the beginning to the end. In a television show, you get the pilot script. It gives you an idea of who the character is and the character you're going to be playing. But as the show progresses, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, you start learning more and more about the character. So you never, I don't know. In television, it can be challenging because maybe by episode 4 you have more backstory that could have helped you in episode 1, but you can't go back and shoot that. So you made choices that you now have to live with, and that can be difficult. You um yeah, it's, and again, that's hard for me to watch sometimes and go back and watch something because I think, oh, if I had known that, I could have made it better then. But I don't know, tapping into something with Found. You work with the creators, you work with the writers. It's a collaboration when you get on set. You're working with a director. You have an idea of what you want to do, but you have to, in my the way I conduct myself, I have to be fluid, and I have to be open for suggestions and collaborate and come up with something that everybody likes.
I'm fascinated by this. So when during a season, like you'll get an opportunity to direct an episode, like how many, and when do you get that news? Like when do you understand? Is that going into a season you'll know, and you're like, I know this is the one I'm going to have my hand in a lot on.
Yeah, so generally what happens, I always ask to direct an episode of a show that I'm on. It usually happens the second season. And then it just has to work with the schedule. You try to not get an episode that you're going to be heavy in. I've worked on things though. When I did Franklin and Bash, I was in every scene, and I still had to direct myself, which is not as enjoyable because I have to rely on other people to give me more input. Like, was that a good take? If I'm in front of the camera, because obviously I can't see what they saw behind the camera, so I have to rely on my people. Um, but I really enjoy directing when I can just sit back and sit at the back of the camera with all the crew and create something. But with Found, I was yeah, I let him know I wanted to direct, and we just found a great episode for me. And you never know what episode you're going to get or what writer you're going to get. But I was lucky that I got a really good episode and really great writer, and had a lot of great, yeah, we created some great content.
Mark, you like a lot of stuff. You're an action guy. You just like sports cars. Tell me about these sports cars you like.
I don't do that anymore, Mo. I grew up doing that. When I grew up, my brother is 16 years older than me, and he was pretty much out of the house by the time I knew anybody was in the house. But his sport was motocross, and my brother is a fantastic engineer. He's very smart. So he went from riding bikes to then working on the bikes, and then he became an unbelievable engineer for Honda and Kawasaki and Suzuki and all the major uh, corporations and factories and whatever, and became known as the goat of mechanics. He had Ricky Carmichael was one of his riders. Chad Reed and McGrath rode for him at one point. But my brother's an unbelievable mechanic, and so that rubbed off of me. And I started riding when I was actually, he put me on a bike when I was 3. I started racing when I was 5. I stopped racing, like, weekend racer, when I was 35. But from being in that environment, I in my 20s, I started racing go-karts, and then moved into real cars,
Right.
and started racing more. And I just, it's like you're just trying to find that next thing to kind of sink your teeth in. So before kids, when you could spend your money on stupid stuff, I was doing it on cars and racing. But now, no. I mean, as somebody said to me, "Hey, because my dirt background, I'm like, hey, let's do trophy trucks or do Baja," and I have some friends that do it, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds great, but I don't want to spend that money. I'd rather spend the money on my kids.
Gotcha.
Kids always take up the fun stuff. That's how
Oh
it
man,
that's
Don't
how it is now. They take
dude.
the fun stuff budget.
When I was in my 20s, late 20s, early 30s, before kids, I was a pilot. I got my pilot's license. I was racing cars. I was, traveling. I was a amateur cyclist, and I
you
did
still in
really
the pilot
well.
no?
I do. I'm not current. No. Again, I guess I could get current, but again, it's time and money, and weekends are, as you know,
We're-
weekends are taken up. One of the things that I have now that I'm really that I spent for my 50th birthday. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna say it's for the kids, but it's really not. Is that I got a converted Sprinter van, like those Mercedes Sprinter vans, and I have a shower in it and a bathroom and
I need one.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I
I
tell
need
you, Mo, I use it every day. My son has baseball. He has a flag football after school. He's like, "You gonna bring the van?" You know, 'cause so he can change, he can eat in there, he can use the restroom. It's like I use it as my mobile office.
You
Uh,
gotta send me some pictures, something, and hook me up. Let me see what you got, so I could get something around that way.
I'm telling you, Mo, it has been the best investment we have ever made. I'm in it every single day because of my daughter and my
Right.
son. You know, we have all of our drinks and our food in there, and we have all of our gears in there. It's been the best thing for us.
Good.
Well, I'm curious about this. So you got kids like 10 and 12. You're obviously, from Saved by the Bell, like one of the most famous shows of all time. And in today's world with streaming, like what's that like a show that was that popular being available to that many people these days? Because everything my kids like these days, same thing, 9 and 12. It's all stuff from my childhood that they like now. Is it cool to have something like that live on with the way entertainment's distributed these days?
Yeah, my kids could care less, but you know, I mean, it's cool to somebody. I mean, I think they watched at one point. They got into it for a little bit, and then it's like, yeah, you know, I'd rather watch the Thundermans or you know, something else that's kind of current. Yeah, no, I'm glad that our generation can rewatch things if they want, and it's sort of like comfort food in a way. But in terms of our kids, I mean, our kids have so much more input. There's just so much noise out there that you know for us it seemed a little more simpler times and simpler things. Yeah, again, there was like the big four networks, and now there's streamings and this and YouTube and you know all this stuff online. They have a lot more to deal with.
As a dad, what's your video game policy?
Oh, I the
'Cause
video game.
I'm gonna use you as a reference. What's your video game policy? Talk to me.
Listen, I wish there was some, and I'm sure people are like there is, but I don't know. I use, you know, we're a Apple family, so my kids have iPads and MacBooks for school, and I'm the administrator, so I can control their time, and I put downtime on, and I put app limits on, and then I have to turn them on and I have to turn them off because they're at school. And then I get a text from my son saying I need more time. And it's
Right.
like it's like nonstop. It's like I have a full time job trying to keep them off of these devices.
Right.
Um, my thing is,
I feel good. I feel good. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I mean, you can't fully. Well, I feel I can't fully remove my kids from these devices because they use it as a way to be social with their friends, right? Like for
Right.
us, I would go across the street and play with my
Right.
friends.
Go outside.
Yeah, you go outside. I would
Well,
go outside until the street lights came on. That's my mom would I could hear her whistle. I knew you know, there was a certain sound she made and I had to run home because, you know, it was dinner time or bedtime or whatever. Um, with my kids, because it's a social aspect, you know, that I can't completely remove it from them. So I have to limit them. And I think my limits are like on Roblox because that's my son is all over Roblox and steal the brain rot or what. Man, dude, he was talking about this one game. Um, it's an hour and a half.
right.
That's their app limit. He can ask for more time, but generally I will say like, "Hey, did you go bat or did you go work out or did you go do some flashcards, you know, for math?" So he works for more time. Um, but I'll tell you, Mo, if I let him, he'd be on it all day. I
Hey,
mean, all day.
I take mine like during the week, during the school week. I take it and
Yeah,
I give it to him on the weekend, and he side eyes me all week like he's angry, for real. Like
yeah,
it's 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 a phenomenal. It's tough, man, because we know what we're trying to get through and try to get them to do. But you're right. You can't remove all of it because it is part of their social being. So you're right. Time, a lot of times taking this on and off. You're getting there on and off. You'll be there, B. on and off, switches, just
The video game is the toughest thing. And I tell you what else I hate, Mo. This is the thing that these kids do. They don't know what it's like to get through a video game anymore because they all cheat. They all go to YouTube and they try and figure out how to beat a game. So if he doesn't know how to beat Sonic the Hedgehog, he goes, "Oh, let me go figure out how to beat this boss."
Right.
AI it is. I'm like, you're earning nothing with winning this game anymore. On the, he loves his same thing. It's they love he loves his Nintendo Switch, but he does his jujitsu during the week, so that's his thing. That like it balances out, but you can't buck against it because it just is what it is. But
this guy's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
I saw that. That's crazy, man. How long have you been training?
Too long, Brennan. Too long. It's been a 15+ year journey, ups and downs. Spent a lot of time in it. Spent a lot of time off. Changed schools and moved, and I've trained everywhere. My head is down. I basically, you have to make a commitment. Like for me, I feel like I love sport, right? I just love to play everything. My new sport is paddle or padel, whatever people want to call it. I get obsessed with things. Like I got obsessed when I was a pilot. I get obsessed when I was a cyclist. I get obsessed when I was racing. I get obsessed with everything. But I would get obsessed with paddle if I could. But I'm like, I'm going to continue with jujitsu until I get my black belt, and then I can kind of breathe a little bit, and then I can just like. So I'm close to getting my black belt. I've been training 3 days a week for a long time now. Just head down, working on that. I was big into golf at one point. I was like, no, I'm gonna stop playing golf. I'm gonna stay with jujitsu. So I'm playing two sports now, jujitsu and paddle, and that's what my week
What do you think?
consists of.
What do you think that would rank just as far as personal accomplishments? Becoming a black belt, like what do you think that would rank on for you personally?
Huge. It is a huge accomplishment for me. My family, the time that they've given me to go do it. I mean the people that I've trained with, and it's been such a long journey. And then when you get your black belt, that journey just begins, right? I mean, it's just like it's a whole new journey. I'm looking forward to that new journey of being able to train different gyms with different people. The gym that I'm with is very attendance based, and it's you um yeah, I have to stay there to kind of get belted up.
Right.
But eventually, I mean, and like I said, I'm trained everywhere, and I love the sport. I can just sit and watch a jujitsu match and just be very content.
Mario Lopez ever have those boxing jujitsu debates?
No, I mean, he's a fantastic boxer. We've trained jujitsu before. His background was wrestling, so he's a badass. He has a lot of good technique. We haven't trained in probably 3 or 4 years, but we just saw each other about a month ago, and we talked about jujitsu. I think he's injured again. And I say again because he goes hard, man. He's injured again, so he's out for a little while. And that's the thing too. It's like just trying to persevere and not, you know, tear something. I mean, because I'm not a young man anymore, and I'm rolling against these young men, and it hurts a lot more than it used to.
As a baseball fan, Mark, were you a heckler? Like when in the stand, like would you ever go at anybody in the outfield or any of that?
No, and I'll tell you what, man, you probably like I'm not a very enjoyable guy to go to a game with because I will get my stuff, when I get there, I'll get my food and drink and then leave me alone. I got to watch the game, right? I got to focus on the game, and I don't want to talk. I don't want to take pictures. I just want to watch the game. And I don't I do this at my kids' games too. I don't really cheer all that much. Um I just want to watch the game. I'm not a very I don't get very emotional at games. I don't like again, we've gone to certain games in the city that I'm in. there's a rivalry, and I'll always go and watch the Dodgers and take my son. And we're not the type to turn around and be like, yeah, yeah, I just like
Right,
keep it
right.
quiet and just go about our business.
That was one thing. I was at Mo's tournament this past weekend, and I was like, this is such an intense thing because these kids are trying to obviously put on a show for these scouts. But I could tell how nervous the parents were. It didn't even feel like anybody was cheering for anything. Like, I'm sitting here like I felt like I was the only one clapping for Mo's team. I'm like, is anybody? But I get it because you're so intense. You want your kids to do so well on this big stage with everybody watching.
Yeah, I think for me though, I don't want it to become about me. I want it to be the kids. Like I love seeing the emotion on the field. I love seeing them, right? When they they're doing their chants or their cheers or whatever. I'm cool with that. But when parents get involved and I don't know. I just it takes away for me from the game, which is supposed to be all about the kids. Um, yeah, I've had some sort of, I wouldn't say run-ins, but I've had some situations at some of my kids' games, and I'm like, really, we're gonna go here with this? I mean, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be about the kids, man, and it becomes very apparent that it's not. It's about the people behind the fence. So
I'm like Mike, I'm actually a coach and I get to coach my own son. And I think I found when I don't coach him and go watch him play, for different, it'll be the same VSA squad, but where I'm sitting in the stands, I enjoy that more than when I'm coaching. I
yeah,
love sitting in the stands and just watching that happen. I'm sure parents that are in that situation are just tense, whereas I'm tense when I'm coaching my teams. But I enjoy it. I'm like you. I Sometimes I think I should get out and just be a fan, but he won't let me out. He's like, man, you gotta stay here and do what you gotta do. I could have been, brown belt like Mark. If I had the time, I don't have it. I'm coaching all the time. But
yeah.
that's the great part of it. But you have the right mindset. You're thinking about your son and trying to just create that environment when he comes home. You got to be dad and love him and tell him, yo, listen, you're not gonna go 4 for 4 every day. And how do you work that out and let him know that you got to put the work in, but also you got to handle adversity. But you got a great head on your shoulders. You've been through so much on many different things and on many different levels. You have so much knowledge to speak to about him, about just mental toughness and adversity. So he's going to be fine.
Yeah, but a lot of these things. Thank you, Mo. But a lot of these things, I've learned over the course. I'm constantly trying to evolve, and I listen to people like you, and I listen to other people that I admire. Sweeney, for instance, Matt Antonelli has a great YouTube.
Yeah.
He's awesome, and I listen to these dads that played and at the highest level, and I think what I adopted a few years ago was, do you want me to be the dad now? And I'll ask my son this: do you want me to be dad right now, or do you want me to be a coach? Because
Right.
I think you can't. I can't be both, and I don't want to be both. And sometimes he'll just, say, "I want you to be dad." Great, cool, great job, bud. Love you. And then sometimes he wants me to be coach, and we actually just had this weekend. It was a 2-day tournament, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday he pitched. He was pitching great. He had one bad inning and they pulled him out. And he got emotional on the mound because he made a mistake. He balked by he was juggling the ball and it fell out of his hand, and he was trying to stay loose and he balked, and it really upset him. And you saw his shoulders slump. And then eventually, I think it was like a batter later, they took him out, and you could see it became emotional. And then I didn't say anything that whole day. They ended up winning that day, but then next morning we were driving and we were just talking about some things. And I said, "Hey, do you want to talk about that moment on the mound that you had yesterday?" And he sat there for a second. He goes, "Yeah, we could talk about it." And I said, "Cool." And I said, well, I had, it was, what happened? What happened? He goes, "I don't know." And I said, and I just walked him through it. I said, "You got emotional, and that's good. You had passion. You wanted to win. You hold yourself up to a higher standard, all this stuff." And then we just kind of just, talked it
Right.
out, and I let him figure it out. But I didn't do it that day. And, I I don't know. You just kind of have to see how there's some kids, they come out the field like, what do I need to do? What
Right.
did I do wrong? And there's other kids that don't, and you just have to respect it. I don't know.
There's a
It's just
constant. I never let my son ride home with me after the game. As a coach and a dad, I just don't want to do that. And it's a constant mental game that we play as dads. When to talk, when to cut, when to interject, when's the right time to make our statement that's going to positively affect our son in the right way. So it's
yeah.
like it's tough mental work raising a son as an athlete, but you have to know when to shoot and when to fall back and when to let them come to you. But like I said, MP, you know what you're doing. You've been through so many things and you're around great people, so you'll make the right choices. I believe that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mo. Thank you.
Mark, we appreciate the time, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. How about your son? So how long has he been doing jiu-jitsu?
He has been doing it now. This is his 3rd year. He just got his gray belt, which
Okay.
he was on gray white, working all the way up to gray. So that was a big tournament. But he did his first 2 tournaments this year. He got his first 3 wins in a tournament. But man, it was nerve wracking that first one because he was like he went up. He was going up against this kid who was like top of his weight class because he was 90 to 100 and he was 90 and this kid was definitely 100. And like my wife looks at me and she's like, if he gets hurt, you're done. Cause and he gets put in a standing guillotine like right away. And he just like, bulldog the guy out of bounds. And so they got to reset. And so he lost on advancement, 0-0. And then the next one got the takedown and he won like 12-0. And he was like, it was the most boom, like beaming accomplishment he had ever had. So he loves it. It's cool. And one of the things that I love about it is like you lose like a lot. You lose a lot early on. And he was always a kid. He got emotional like that. And I thought it was a good thing to teach him how to like control a lot of that stuff. Cause it's like, hey man, I don't mind you crying, but you can't cry on the mat right now. Like we got to get to the next match. So he loves it. That's the one thing. Like we've done baseball. We've done soccer. We've done flag football, but jiu-jitsu is the thing that stuck. That's what he really loves.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great learning. I like it for all the lessons it teaches you. I think it's great for kids, adults. I try to get as many. I'm a huge advocate for it. So I love hearing stories like that because
Yeah.
I think I think you can learn some very important lessons by being on the mat.
It was cool too. Yeah, it happened by happenstance because my daughter was doing cheer, and and he would just be like sitting here bored, and then there was a jujitsu school like literally in the next door. And I'm like, you want to try that? I'll try it. He liked it.
Cool.
Things happen.
That's how things happen, man. But yeah, Mark, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. We appreciate you.
Thanks,
I
brother.
appreciate you guys. Thank you. I hope to see you guys out there.